and welcome everyone to another episode of Real Talk with Roberta's House. My name is Janaea Stanley and I'm the clinical supervisor. Today we are talking with family support specialist Miss Clara Annibal, who is a new member of the Hope team, the newest member of the Hope Project team. So we're going to talk to her about, get some more information about pregnancy and infant loss. So welcome, Miss Clara. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm very good. Thank you. What about yourself?
I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be talking to you today.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about the Hope Project and what you do at the Hope Project.
Okay. So at the Hope Project, we work with women who have had a loss. So that can be a miscarriage or an infant loss. So here we have two programs that we support the woman who had a loss. So we have a home visitation program, but right now with COVID, we don't do it, but we do one-on-one meeting online. And we have group support. We have Sam, still a mom, and usually we will have healing for quilting here at Roberta's house. But once again, because of COVID-19, we have another support group, which is LAL, which is Life After Loss.
Awesome. Awesome. So with the SAM group, Still a Mom, tell us a little bit about, because that's the group that you facilitate, right?
Yes.
Okay, you and Miss Latoya, you guys facilitate that group. So tell us a little bit about what a mom would experience in that group.
So SAM is the first group that women will attend when they come through Hope Project. And in that group, what we try to do is really to provide the women with a safe place where they can talk about their loss, but also their baby. So we will also work with a curriculum that we have. We will do certain activities so they can express emotion, because as you know, grief is very emotional and sometimes it's very difficult for women to know where they are at with their emotions. So to express all these emotions, to express around the grief, to talk about their baby. And it's also the first time where they're gonna experiment to talk, to tell their story in a group setting.
How is that first time telling their story? How impactful is that first time a mom tells her story?
First of all, it's when we tell them that they're going to tell their story, it can be difficult for some of them, but it's also to have the courage to step forward and tell that story. And some of them share that they were not comfortable to tell their story, so they try to tell their story very simplified with no emotion, but still this is impactful because this allows them to put some word, and it's the first step that they're taking towards their healing also. And you know, when we are social being, right? So when we go outside, people will always talk and ask you a question, and it's also to prepare them. How am I going to answer to this question? And they know also, they will understand that the way for them to tell their story can vary, the way that, according to the relationship that they will have with the person that would ask them the question about their baby.
Right. Baby. So they may tell another angel mom, they may tell their story one way to another angel mom, but they may tell their story differently to, like one of the family support workers or things like that.
Yes. And I think the more they will be comfortable, they will be able also to include that emotional part that sometimes they will just take away if, you're not so, somebody that they know, that somebody that they trust with their emotion.
What brought you to Roberta's house?
I like to work with women in a general manner.
What about working with women interests you?
I just think that we got to empower each other, you know, so, and being able to stand by a woman and to help her be back on her feet, that is very important.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Helping a woman find her voice, things like that. Absolutely. One of the things that, so October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and I have my Hope shirt on to represent the program. One of the things that I know I've heard questions about, or even I've had my own personal questions about, is what types of losses are experienced under that umbrella of pregnancy and infant loss. So I've heard of miscarriage. So could you explain like what some of those losses is? So like what is a miscarriage?
So we have two types of miscarriages, which is the first trimester and the second trimester. So usually the first trimester, that would be, you know, during the first 3 months, this is why people don't say if they're pregnant, because we already know that sometimes that pregnancy will not stay in our body, right? And so this is something that is sometimes natural. If the baby has a malformation, something going wrong, so the body will just, this is hard to say, but the body will just eliminate the baby, right? And the second trimester miscarriage, that can be due to an incompetent cervix, that can be due to an infection that caused the mom to lose the baby. And after, we also have infant loss, which is caused by seeds, a lot of seeds around here. To define what seeds is almost it's something that is a big mystery until today, because it's just the brain sending the information to the baby to stop breathing. What causes that, we don't know. It's just that this information get to the baby, stop breathing, and whatever you will do at this time, that won't stop that process. So, and this is what we have here.
So I've heard the term atopic pregnancy. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, so an ectopic pregnancy is a pregnancy that's not going to be in the uterus. So, and this pregnancy won't be able to grow because, you know, your uterus grow with your pregnancy. Now, if, I don't know the term in English, I'm sorry, but, you know, you have a uterus and you have a little fallopian. This is what it is. And the ectopic pregnancy will grow inside that fallopian, so that cannot grow. So after a while, you know, to prevent the fallopian to blow or whatever, so people would medically get rid of that pregnancy. So this is what happened.
So like the fallopian tubes, the egg is stuck in the fallopian tube.
Yes. Yes, this is what is an ectopic pregnancy. This is why you will have also like pain, you know, ladies who experience ectopic pregnancy, they will have pain because this is not where a baby should grow. So, yeah.
So how would that, what would the doctors do? If they find out that the egg is stuck in the fallopian tube, what would the doctors do at that point?
They will just remove the egg from the fallopian tube. Yeah, if it's possible.
Okay. Would they have to remove the whole fallopian tube sometimes?
It depends on what's going on. So, and I don't know, it depends maybe on the protocol that they have. So, yeah.
Would it make a woman difficult to get pregnant again? Would it make it difficult?
No, usually you can be pregnant. I mean, yes, it will be a little difficult, but it will not be like hard difficult. This is what I want to say. So you can still be pregnant. You can still have a normal pregnancy after that.
Okay. So if a woman, if the fallopian tube has to be removed, could a woman still get pregnant at that point?
Yes, it's just one. She still got one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Would it be a little bit more challenging though, because she only has one?
Yeah, a little challenging, but still possible.
Awesome, awesome. I know that, especially for older women, you know, women, like I think, was it over 30 or over 35, and the doctors called it geriatric pregnancy. What is that exactly?
It's just because the lady get older, so it's a more like high risk pregnancy, because you know, the more you're getting old, the more your body doesn't respond the same. Now when you get pregnant, there's an increase of the volume of the blood, an increase of, you know, your body doesn't work the same. So that puts you at risk, because if you had already a problem with high blood pressure, that's going to increase your high blood pressure. That can also, you know, bring some other problem like diabetes and all this kind of stuff. This is why maybe they call that geriatric pregnancy. So it's just that they need to be more careful and more follow-up when a lady reached that, I would say between 35, 40 and over. So they will pay attention to more I would say little detail in the lady health to make sure that she can take that pregnancy to term.
Yeah, I get that. So you mentioned with the miscarriage in the first trimester, how the body might just kind of on its own eliminate the baby, or so to speak. And so I would imagine that if a woman experiences that, to some extent, it might not be as significant to her or to other people as if she were actually, you know, the belly getting big and, you know, those types of things. And so to me, I would understand it, that would be why that type of loss is disenfranchised, because people don't necessarily understand that even though it was the first trimester, there still was a connection there. So can you talk a little bit about that, about how moms who may have had that type of loss, how significant that is for them?
I think most of all, when you are pregnant, sometimes you really want to be pregnant, right? You're planning to be pregnant, and you already expecting, you know, all this emotion and the body change. And I think even when you lost a baby in the first trimester, it's a big deception, you know, a big disappointment. And it's also, you know, it's emotionally challenging and also physically, because I don't know for how long. Sometimes you don't get pregnant like that. Sometimes it takes you 1.5 years to get pregnant, right? So it's a lot of time. So now you get pregnant, you're super happy, and you miscarriage, which can be challenging. I think whatever the term is, when you lost a baby, it's, you know, the loss impact you the same, because it's depend, like, you know, I don't say it depend, but it's just like, I think it's the same.
Yeah, and I think it's significant as well, you know, regardless if it was first trimester or, you know, the child was 1, it's still as significant. But I can kind of understand how society may not see it that way, you know, because when we're able to see something or touch something, you know, we have a different type of attachment to it. But like you said, the hopes and the dreams and the anticipation, that hasn't changed. So yeah, I understand that. Thank you for explaining that. The types of losses that I also have heard about is if the doctors have to terminate the pregnancy, like due to, you know, some kind of complications. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
So sometimes you would have a baby, and the baby would have like whatever malformation. That can be genetics, that can be, you know, something that is not, that will allow your baby to live, you know. So now the doctor will inform you, and they give you the choice whether you want to go at term knowing that your baby is not going to live for so long, or whether you want to terminate that pregnancy at any term when you feel ready. So this can be challenging, because I know that also there's some women due to their belief, they can go through the medical, abortion. So they have to go through the whole process, and at the end, maybe see the baby live for 5 minutes, maybe, or maybe less, or maybe not, a stillborn. So, which is very challenging. And these women also need some support. And I would say maybe also during pregnancy and after pregnancy.
Absolutely. You mentioned stillbirth. What's a stillbirth?
It's when you give birth to a baby and it doesn't live, and this happen also. Sometimes everything just go fine, and you give birth and your baby die, and you don't know why, and we don't know either.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's really hard. Are there any other types of losses that fall under this umbrella that we haven't talked about?
No.
Okay, awesome. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I can imagine how hard this work can be for someone every day to hear about, people's losses, because we're sensitive, we are compassionate people. And so to hear about people's pain, we kind of take that on, we take that from them. So how do you deal with the work every day? How do you manage hearing, the pain that people go through, and, how do you manage that?
I think because I work in the medical field before, so I know how to come to have a compartment where I don't mix my job with myself. So I don't take so much on myself, but it's draining emotionally. It's more draining than me taking stuff on my shoulder. So because you give so much, you have to give a lot, because sometimes some of these women only have you to talk, or to be a part of their support, because if they don't talk to their family or whatever would be the situation, so you are the only person that they trust, so you give a lot. So I would say it's emotionally draining. But on my side, I don't put anything on me. It's just that I give a lot.
Right. Yeah, that's something that I've heard a lot of people say. They don't want to tell people how they feel because they know it's emotionally draining, and so they don't want to drain that person. So what would you say to that person who is hurting but doesn't want to share because they don't want to bring anybody down, or they don't want to cause that type of pain for somebody?
I think if they want to heal, they need to be able to put some words on their emotion. And sometimes that it's also allow you to know where you at. And if you keep on just like talking about everything but not your emotion, and try to bottle up and say, okay, I don't want to talk about that, you won't be able to heal. And it's one day that's going to come back again in another situation that maybe you don't even need to be emotional and explode. And what are you going to do? It's better to be able, if you can, and that person allow you to express, just express and have the healing that you can have from that, instead of you just bottle up everything because you don't want to hurt, or you don't want to drain the person, or you don't want to, I don't know, do harm, or
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we were talking earlier, and you were talking about, people's ability to trust is very fragile, and so for someone who has a problem trusting people, how can they want to heal and they want to talk to somebody, but how can they do that when they have a hard time trusting? What's something you would tell that person?
I would say to take time. Like the ladies, when they get into the program, they are at least in the program for 1 year. So which give them time to know us, and also us to know them. So and sometimes it happens that the lady get into the program, but they don't grieve yet. They haven't even accepted that their baby passed. So we still talk to them, and we're waiting on them to be ready to talk and to put some words on their pain. We don't force anything, and the trust should be something natural. So I would say that, to give that person a chance to, to see you and also see that person and maybe help her to build that trust with you.
Mhm. So I know with the other family support specialists, they are angel moms themselves. So, and they talked about how impactful being an angel mom and working in this field. So as someone who's not an angel mom, but wants to support angel moms, what would you tell that person? How can they still support even though they haven't experienced that same type of loss?
I would say when you service people, I think the most important thing is to be empathetic, like to be able to put yourself in their shoes and to be able to meet the person where they're at. If you want to help somebody, it's really to meet the person where she is at and to also understand where she's coming from. And it's really also to listen a lot. And because sometimes people will just tell you what they need if you listen. So this is what I would.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That was one thing that when we talked to Latoya, that was one thing that she mentioned was about active listening and, really listening and just not talking, just allowing that person to express themselves. How have you seen when a person is able to express and talk about their loss, how are they able to, or what happens with them? Like, how do they behave differently? What types of things change in a person when they're finally able to talk about their loss?
I would say this is the moment where we can build with them again, because when they come, they're so broken. So we have to wait for this moment where they are able to put some words on their, on their pain, what they're going through. And also there's some moment where I would say some ladies, they are so broken that we have meeting with them where we don't talk, where they just cry, like literally cry for maybe, the for first meeting or whatever. And I would say it takes a lot of time, but when they take that moment and they are, able to talk, and this is when also we know that maybe we can now, start to build with her and help her with some tools that's gonna help her to cope better with the grief.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm trying to think that I have any other questions. This has been such a great conversation. I really appreciate your input. I know one thing is, what is something that you want people to remember about this conversation? If they don't remember anything else, what's one thing you want them to remember?
That infant loss in our society is not advertised like pregnancy would be advertised. All these great moments are advertised, but like infant loss is also a natural thing that happen in our life as as a pregnancy. And I think we should be able to talk and be able to educate people about it, so women would feel like less alone, and also be able to find the resource that they need. Because if we were talking more about it, we would maybe advertise about, like, for example, the Hope Project, and women of color, of minority, or whatever who need the support, they know where to come and where to find us. So I would say it's to just I want to say, as we welcome life in a general way of speaking, there's also a way to accompany death, and this is natural and it's human. So just remind people that this is a natural thing, and people need to be educated and to not be ashamed. If you need the help that you need to go through your loss, don't be ashamed, find it, because what we want, after all, everything that we're going through life help us to grow, but sometimes we need some support,
Yeah.
be able to to go over that, to go over obstacles.
Mhm. You mentioned, and I'm glad that you said this again. You mentioned that sometimes these losses are just natural, and so I can understand a woman feeling ashamed that she's not able to carry her baby, and so you mentioned that the body just naturally did it. It wasn't anything that she did wrong, right? And so, you know, um, she may feel guilty or ashamed that she wasn't able to carry that baby to term. What's something you might want to say to her?
It's very difficult to say something when a lady feels that she cannot trust her body anymore and she has that guilt also. It's usually I don't really say, when it comes to the guilt, I try to understand the cause of the guilt first of all.
Okay.
And when I think I understand where it's coming from, I will work with her. And after, when it comes to the body, it's also to maybe encourage them to go back to their, gynecologist, to make sure that they have that visit that's going to tell them everything is normal. Everything, on your hands is normal, your uterus is normal, everything is correct with you. There's nothing that maybe can help them to feel that they can go, they can, they can trust their body again. But it's very like, I would say it's almost like, I would say it's not my place where I'm at in the journey of a lady to go over that. Of course, if she talk about it with me, we will talk about it. But I would say it's more like people that would come when she will be pregnant again, to give her that trust again, to tell her, see, you are pregnant, so your body works and you can trust it. It knows what to do and all this kind of stuff. Because when there's a loss, and even it's a natural cause, what she's feeling right now, it's what she's feeling, and I need to support her through that. And sometimes I don't have time to talk about the body and how they trust, so.
Right. And there was one other thing that we talked about before we started this, was when you were talking about the relationship the woman has with her doctor. And sometimes, African American women especially have the highest numbers of death amongst themselves, and the higher rates of pregnancy and infant loss in our culture. And so sometimes trusting a doctor can be challenging, or getting a doctor to actually listen to us can be very challenging. So what's something that you can talk to a woman about that? How can she advocate for herself in those instances?
So here on the Hope Project, we listen to the lady, and we reach a point that we listen too much, and we hear so much what they say, that after a while they will be able to tell us what they want. So now when they tell us what they want, we also tell them to voice. So now to not be able to voice and to ask what they need at this time. So if let's say if a lady had a miscarriage, and at this time she didn't know that she had an incompetent cervix, right? And now she see a doctor, and doctor explained to her what happened. And she come back to us and said, oh, I saw my doctor this week, and this is what he said. He said that I have an incompetent cervix, and now I have that information. So I would tell her to remember to tell it to the other people that she would see at the hospital. Tell them that this is what the doctor said to you, so you will be able to, bring the attention to you at this time.
And I apologize, I was talking over you. You mentioned incompetent cervix. What is that exactly?
So an incompetent cervix, that means that this is a cervix that would not stay closed while you are pregnant. Can be like a short cervix or a cervix that cannot stay closed, so cannot keep your baby in the uterus. So with the weight of the baby, that will open, and and just your baby will slide out, actually.
And so the woman won't be able to carry the baby to term because the baby won't.
Yeah, usually you would have to have a cerclage for that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Clara. This has been a very educational and awesome conversation. I appreciate your time.
Thank you
so much. And to everyone who's been watching and listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
When multiple deaths occur in the city, it affects us all, even the children. Last year, Roberta's House served over 2,000 individuals. There are children and families in the urban communities of Baltimore that are in need of grief support. Donate to Roberta's House annual fund drive to help grieving families and children find hope again. Visit robertashouse.org or call 410-889-0001 today.